Welcome to True Crime Cases, where we delve into the darkest corners of human nature. Today's episode unravels a tale of pastor's secret gay love affair. The choir member ends in grisly murder. Reverend Thomas Holloway was a pillar of the Stillwater community. 52 years old, he had led the First Baptist Church for over 2 decades, building a reputation as a charismatic leader and a beacon of moral guidance. With his salt-and-pepper hair, warm brown eyes, and gentle demeanor, Reverend Holloway was beloved by his congregation of over 500 members. He was married to Melissa Holloway, 50, kind-hearted elementary school teacher, and they had 2 grown children, Emily, 28, and Michael, 25. The Holloways seemed to embody the perfect Christian family, active in church activities and always ready to lend a helping hand to those in need. Thomas and Melissa had met in college, both studying theology at Oklahoma Baptist University. Their courtship had been a whirlwind of shared faith and common goals, culminating in a beautiful wedding ceremony at Melissa's hometown church in Tulsa. Over the years, they had built a life centered around their faith and community service, becoming fixtures in Stillwater's social and religious circles. But beneath this veneer of respectability, a storm was brewing that would soon tear apart not just the Holloway family, but the entire Stillwater community. Enter James Martinez, a 34-year-old choir member who had joined the church 3 years ago. With his striking good looks, melodious tenor voice, and friendly personality, James quickly became a favorite among the congregation. He was single, worked as a graphic designer, and volunteered his time to design the church's weekly bulletins and promotional materials. James had moved to Stillwater from Dallas, Texas, seeking a fresh start after a difficult breakup. He had grown up in a conservative Catholic family and struggled for years to reconcile his faith with his sexuality. What no one knew was that James harbored a secret. He was gay. Fact he had kept hidden from his conservative Christian community. For years, James had struggled with his sexuality, praying for guidance and attempting to suppress his true feelings. But when he met Reverend Holloway, something changed. Pastor and the choir member began spending more time together, initially under the guise of working on church projects. Late nights at the office turned into intimate conversations, shared confidences, and eventually a physical relationship. For 18 months, Reverend Holloway and James carried on a clandestine affair, meeting in secret, and hiding their true feelings from the world. As their relationship deepened, so did their emotional connection. Reverend Holloway found himself torn between his duty to his family and church, and his growing love for James. The younger man, for his part, began to hope for a future where they could be together openly. But secrets have a way of coming to light, and on a crisp autumn morning in October 2023, truth would be revealed in the most horrific way imaginable. It was Melissa Holloway who made the grisly discovery. Concerned that her husband hadn't come home the night before, she drove to the church early in the morning. As she approached the pastor's office, she noticed the door was slightly ajar. The sight that greeted her would haunt her for the rest of her life. Reverend Thomas Holloway lay sprawled across his desk, his once immaculate suit now stained crimson. A heavy brass crucifix, usually mounted on the wall behind his desk, lay beside him, its base covered in blood. Walls were spattered with red, and amidst the chaos, a Bible lay open on the floor, pages torn and bloody. Melissa's anguished screams echoed through the empty church, bringing the custodian running. Within minutes, quiet morning was shattered by the wail of sirens as police and paramedics rushed to the scene. Detective Lisa Ramirez, a seasoned investigator with the Stillwater Police Department, took charge of the case. At 43, Detective Ramirez had seen her fair share of gruesome crime scenes, but the savagery of this attack shocked even her. As she surveyed the pastor's office, she knew this would be no ordinary investigation. The brutality of the attack suggested a crime of passion. But who could harbor such rage against the beloved pastor? As news of Reverend Holloway's murder spread, shock waves rippled through Stillwater. The tight-knit community struggled to comprehend how such a heinous act could occur within the sacred walls of their church. Parishioners gathered outside, some weeping openly, others standing in stunned silence. The local news stations, KOCO-TV and K4R, quickly dispatched reporters to the scene, their live broadcast spreading the shocking news across Oklahoma. The investigation began in earnest. Detective Ramirez and her team combed through the crime scene, collecting DNA samples, fingerprints, and other evidence. The murder weapon, the brass crucifix, was bagged and sent to the lab for analysis. Security camera footage from the church and surrounding businesses was collected, hoping to shed light on who might have entered or left the building that fateful night. Interviews with church members painted a picture of Reverend Holloway as a kind and compassionate leader, someone who had touched countless lives through his ministry. No one could fathom who would want to harm him. Yet, as the investigation deepened, cracks began to appear in the pastor's perfect image. Several parishioners mentioned that Reverend Holloway had seemed distracted in recent months, sometimes appearing tired or preoccupied during services. Others recalled seeing him in deep, hushed conversations with James Martinez, choir member. While none thought much of it at the time, these observations now took on a new significance. As the police delved into Reverend Holloway's personal life, they discovered financial irregularities in the church accounts. Small amounts of money had been withdrawn regularly over the past year, totaling a significant sum. This revelation cast a shadow over the pastor's reputation and opened up new avenues of investigation. Meanwhile, James Martinez was nowhere to be found. He hadn't shown up for work the day after the murder, and calls to his cell phone went straight to voicemail. When police visited his apartment, they found it empty, with signs of a hasty departure. Clothes were strewn about, drawers left open, and his passport was missing. James had become the prime suspect. As the investigation continued, Detective Ramirez uncovered a trail of encrypted emails between Reverend Holloway and James, dating back over a year. The contents of these messages, once decrypted, revealed the true nature of their relationship. The emails spoke of secret meetings, shared dreams, and a love that dared not speak its name. Community reeled from these revelations. Many refused to believe that their beloved pastor could have engaged in a gay affair, let alone embezzled church funds. Others felt betrayed, their faith shaken by the hypocrisy of a man who had preached against homosexuality from the pulpit while secretly living a double life. Melissa Holloway, devastated by both her husband's death and the exposure of his secret life, withdrew from public view. She refused to speak to the press or even to many of her former friends, seeking solace in the company of her children. Emily and Michael Holloway, struggling to process the loss of their father and the shattering of their family's image, closed ranks around their mother, fiercely protecting her privacy. As days turned into weeks, the search for James Martinez intensified. Its face was plastered across news channels and social media, and a nationwide manhunt was launched. Tips poured in from across the country. Each lead turned into a dead end. The FBI joined the investigation, bringing additional resources and expertise to the case. The Stillwater community, once united in their grief, began to fracture. Some stood firmly by the Holloway family, choosing to remember Reverend Thomas as the caring pastor he had been for so many years. Others felt betrayed, their trust in religious leadership shaken to the core. The First Baptist Church became a battleground of conflicting emotions, with attendance dropping sharply, as many members found themselves unable to reconcile their faith. A scandal. Local LGBTQ+ organizations seized the opportunity to push for greater acceptance and understanding within the community. They organized vigils and discussion groups, hoping to use the tragedy as a catalyst for change. However, their efforts were met with resistance from more conservative elements of the community, who saw the scandal as a vindication of their views on the dangers of homosexuality. The case attracted national attention, with major news outlets descending on Stillwater. Quiet Oklahoma town found itself at the center of a media frenzy, with reporters digging into every aspect of Reverend Holloway's life and the church's history. Pressure on local law enforcement to solve the case intensified with each passing day. As the investigation progressed, Detective Ramirez and her team uncovered more about James Martinez's background. They learned of his troubled past in Dallas, including a history of depression and a brief stint in therapy. Interviews with his former colleagues and acquaintances painted a picture of a man struggling to find his place in the world, torn between his faith and his sexuality. The financial angle of the case also deepened. Forensic accountants discovered the money withdrawn from the church accounts had been funneled into a separate bank account under a false name. The account had been used to rent a small apartment on the outskirts of Stillwater, which turned out to be the secret meeting place for Rev. Holloway and James. When police searched the apartment, they found tangible evidence of the affair: love letters, photographs, and personal items belonging to both men. The discovery sent shockwaves through the investigation team, and when leaked to the press, through the entire community. The break in the case came from an unexpected source. A motel owner in Tulsa, Oklahoma, recognized James from the news and alerted the authorities. By the time police arrived, James had fled, but he left behind crucial evidence: a journal detailing his relationship with Rev. Holloway and the events leading up to the murder. The journal painted a picture of a love affair fraught with tension and conflicting emotions. James wrote of his initial adoration of Rev. Holloway, the excitement of their secret meetings, and the pain of hiding their relationship. But as time went on, the entries became darker. James expressed frustration with the pastor's reluctance to leave his wife and come out to the community. He wrote of arguments, of promises made and broken, and of a growing sense of betrayal. The final entry, dated the night of the murder, particularly chilling. In it, James described confronting Rev. Holloway at the church, demanding that he choose between their relationship and his life of deception. The pastor's refusal to leave his family and his position in the church had sent James into a rage. In a moment of blind fury, he had grabbed the crucifix from the wall and struck Rev. Holloway repeatedly. Armed with this new information, the police redoubled their efforts to find James. Their persistence paid off when, 2 months after the murder, James was apprehended trying to cross the border into Mexico. The arrest was a joint operation between local law enforcement, the FBI, and Mexican authorities. James Martinez was extradited back to Oklahoma to face charges. His arrest brought a measure of relief to the Stillwater community. The wounds inflicted by Rev. Holloway's murder and the subsequent revelations ran deep. First Baptist Church struggled to recover from the scandal, with many members leaving to join other congregations or abandoning their faith altogether. The trial of James Martinez was a media sensation, drawing national attention to the small Oklahoma town. Orrhouse was besieged by reporters and curious onlookers, all eager to catch a glimpse of the man accused of killing the beloved pastor. Security was tight, police on high alert for any potential disturbance. James pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, claiming that he had not intended to kill Rev. Holloway, but had lost control in a moment of passionate anger. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Mark Thompson, pushed for a first-degree murder charge, arguing that the brutality of the attack and James's attempts to flee indicated premeditation. The trial lasted for 3 weeks, with testimony from church members, police officers, and forensic experts. Melissa Holloway took the stand, her testimony a heart-wrenching account of her discovery of her husband's body and the subsequent unraveling of her life. Her dignified grief moved many in the courtroom to tears. James's defense team, led by attorney Rachel Goldstein, argued for leniency, citing James's history of mental health issues and the emotional turmoil caused by the secret relationship. They painted a picture of a man driven to desperation by societal and religious pressure, trapped in an impossible situation. In the end, the jury found James guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. The verdict brought mixed reactions from the community, with some feeling justice had been served, while others believed the sentence was too lenient. In his statement to the court, James expressed remorse for his actions while also speaking about the pain and frustration of living a life in the shadows. His words resonated with many in the LGBTQ+ community, sparking discussions about the challenges faced by those struggling to reconcile their sexuality with their faith. The aftermath of the murder left the Stillwater community grappling with complex emotions. Many felt sympathy for Melissa Holloway and her children, whose lives had been shattered not just by loss, but by the public exposure of their family's secrets. Others found themselves re-evaluating their beliefs about sexuality and the role of the church in perpetuating shame and secrecy. The First Baptist Church underwent significant changes in the wake of the scandal. A new pastor, Rev. Angela Carter, was brought in, advocating for a more inclusive approach to faith. While some longtime members left, others found that the tragedy had opened their eyes to the need for greater acceptance and understanding within their religious community. Melissa Holloway eventually broke her silence, giving a single interview to the Stillwater News Press. In it, she spoke of her struggle to come to terms with her husband's secret life and tragic death. She expressed her hope that others in similar situations might find the courage to live authentically, sparing themselves and their loved ones pain of a double life. The murder of Rev. Thomas Holloway served as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of even the most seemingly perfect lives, hidden struggles and secret passions can simmer. It challenged the Stillwater community to confront their prejudices and preconceptions, forcing many to question long-held beliefs about morality, sexuality, and the nature of love. Years after the crime, the case continued to fascinate true crime enthusiasts and sociologists alike. It became the subject of books, documentaries, and countless discussions about the intersection of faith, sexuality, and societal expectations. A best-selling book, Sins of the Father, Thomas Holloway Case by investigative journalist Maria Sanchez, delved deep into the case, uncovering new details and providing a comprehensive analysis of the events leading up to the murder. For the people of Stillwater, the memory of that fateful October morning would never truly fade. The church where Rev. Holloway once preached still stands, a silent witness to the tragic consequences of hidden truths and forbidden love. The brass crucifix, once a symbol of faith, now serves as a grim reminder of how quickly passion can turn to violence. As time passed, the raw pain of the event gradually gave way to reflection, and for some, commitment to creating a more open and accepting community. Support groups formed for those struggling with their sexuality within religious contexts, and the local P-Flag chapter saw a surge in membership. The Holloway children, Emily and Michael, took different paths in dealing with their father's legacy. Emily became an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights within religious communities, speaking at conferences and writing articles about her experiences. Michael, on the other hand, distanced himself from organized religion entirely, moving to California to start a new life away from the shadows of the past. Melissa Holloway found solace in her work, rowing herself into teaching and mentoring troubled youth. She became a respected figure in the community, known for her resilience and compassion. Though she never remarried, she found purpose in helping others navigate life's challenges. The case of Rev. Thomas Holloway and James Martinez became a cautionary tale, not just about the dangers of living a double life, but about the importance of creating a society where people feel safe to be their authentic selves. It sparked conversations in homes, schools, and places of worship across the country about acceptance, understanding, and the complex nature of human sexuality. The case also had ripple effects beyond Stillwater. Other religious communities across Oklahoma and neighboring states began to re-examine their policies and attitudes towards LGBTQ+ individuals. Some churches embraced change, becoming more inclusive and welcoming, while others doubled down on conservative values, leading to further divisions within the broader Christian community. The legal system, too, felt the impact of the case. Prosecutors and defense attorneys alike began to look more closely at the role of societal pressures and mental health in crimes of passion. The Holloway case was cited in numerous legal arguments and became a topic of study in law schools across the country. In Stillwater itself, the community slowly began to heal. The First Baptist Church, under the leadership of Rev. Angela Carter, instituted new programs focused on acceptance and understanding. They established a youth group specifically for LGBTQ+ teens, providing a safe space for young people to explore their identities within a faith context. While these measures were met with some resistance, they marked a significant shift in the town's approach to diversity and inclusion. The Stillwater Police Department, under the leadership of Chief Robert Hawkins, implemented new training programs for officers, focusing on sensitivity and understanding when dealing with LGBTQ+ individuals and domestic disputes. Detective Lisa Ramirez, who had led the Holloway investigation, became a key figure in these efforts, sharing her experiences and insights with her colleagues. In the years following the trial, James Martinez's life in prison became a subject of interest for criminal justice researchers and mental health professionals. His case highlighted the need for better mental health support and counseling services within the prison system, particularly for inmates struggling with issues of identity and sexuality. James's case also resonated with many young people grappling with similar conflict between their faith and their sexuality. Letters poured into the prison from across the country, many from individuals sharing their own experiences of living in the closet within religious communities. While James was not allowed to respond directly to these letters, the prison chaplain worked with him to develop a program addressing the intersection of faith and sexuality for interested inmates. The media attention surrounding the case eventually faded. The impact on Stillwater and its residents lingered. Local artists and writers found inspiration in the tragedy, creating works that explored themes of hidden identities, forbidden love, and the cost of secret. The Stillwater Community Theater staged a controversial play loosely based on the Holloway case, sparking heated debates about the ethics, dramatizing real-life tragedies. As the years passed, the anniversary of Reverend Holloway's death became a time of reflection for the community. Candlelight vigils were held, not just in memory of the slain pastor, but as a symbol of hope for a more accepting and understanding future. The First Baptist Church, once the epicenter of the scandal, gradually rebuilt its congregation under Rev. Carter's leadership. While some longtime members never returned, new faces began to appear in the pews. Church became known as a place of healing and reconciliation, attracting individuals from diverse backgrounds who sought a more inclusive expression of faith. Melissa Holloway's journey of healing became an inspiration to many. 5 years after the murder, she published a memoir titled After the Fall, Rebuilding Faith and Family. The book chronicled her struggle to reconcile her love for her late husband with the betrayal she felt upon discovering his secret life. It also detailed her path to forgiveness and her renewed commitment to her faith. The memoir became a bestseller, resonating with readers far beyond Stillwater's borders. Emily Holloway, now in her mid-30s, became a respected voice in the ongoing national conversation about religion and LGBTQ+ rights. She frequently appeared on talk shows and at conferences, sharing her family's case and advocating for greater acceptance within religious community. Her TED Talk, Love, Faith, and the Cost of Silence, went viral, accumulating millions of views and sparking discussions in religious and secular circles alike. Michael Holloway, who had initially distanced himself from his hometown and its painful memories, gradually found his way back to Stillwater. He opened a small art gallery in the downtown area, featuring works that explored themes of identity, loss, and redemption. The gallery became a cultural hub, attracting visitors from across the state and beyond. The case also had lasting effects on the legal and criminal justice systems. Law schools began using the Holloway case as a study in the complexities of crimes of passion and the role of societal pressures in criminal behavior. The Oklahoma state legislature, prompted by advocacy groups citing the case, passed new laws addressing hate crimes and discrimination based on sexual orientation. In the broader religious landscape, the Holloway case became a touchstone for discussions about the treatment of LGBTQ+ individuals within faith communities. Progressive religious leaders pointed to the tragedy as evidence of the harm caused by non-accepting attitudes, while conservative groups used it to reinforce their stance against what they saw as the dangers of straying from traditional values. 10 years after the murder, a documentary filmmaker named Alex Chen produced a series titled Stillwater, A Town Divided, examining the long-term impact of the Holloway case on the community. The series featured interviews with key figures, including Melissa Holloway, Emily and Michael Holloway, Detective Ramirez, and various community members. It painted a nuanced picture of a town still grappling with the aftermath of the tragedy, but also showing signs of growth and change. The documentary sparked renewed national interest in the case. It led to a conference held at Oklahoma State University, bringing together religious leaders, LGBTQ+ advocates, legal experts, and mental health professionals to discuss the ongoing challenges faced by individuals struggling to reconcile their faith and sexuality. As Stillwater approached the 15th anniversary of Rev. Holloway's death, the town had changed in many ways. The population had grown, bringing new perspectives and attitudes. The annual Pride Parade, once a small and controversial event, had become a celebration that attracted visitors from across the state. First Baptist Church, under Rev. Carter's continued leadership, had become known as a beacon of progressive Christianity in the region. Yet, reminders of the tragedy remained. The Holloway case was still taught in local schools as part of a curriculum on civic responsibility and the importance of acceptance. The brass crucifix, the murder weapon, was now housed in the Stillwater Museum of History, a somber artifact that continued to draw visitors and spark conversations. James Martinez, now in his late 40s, remained in prison. He had become a model inmate, leading support groups and working with the prison ministry. His case continued to be cited in debates about sentencing reform and rehabilitation. As this chapter of true crime cases comes to a close, we're left to ponder the far-reaching consequences of hidden truths and societal pressures. Case of Rev. Thomas Holloway, James Martinez, and the town of Stillwater serves as a powerful reminder of the complexity of human nature and the ongoing struggle for acceptance and understanding in our communities. Tragedy that unfolded in this quiet Oklahoma town touched countless lives, challenging long-held beliefs and pushing a conservative community toward greater acceptance and understanding. While the cost was undeniably high, many in Stillwater came to see that from the darkness of this horrible crime, a light of compassion and inclusivity had begun to shine. As we reflect on this case, we're reminded that beneath the surface of every community, every family, and every individual, there may be untold stories waiting to emerge, for better or for worse. The legacy of the Holloway case continues to resonate, a testament to the enduring impact of one community's struggle with love, faith, and the price of secret. Thank you for joining us for this episode of True Crime Cases. We appreciate your time and attention as we explored the complex and tragic case of Rev. Thomas Holloway and the Stillwater community. We hope this tale has not only captivated you, but also prompted reflection on the deeper issues it raises about society, faith, and human nature. Your interest in these real-life stories helps us continue our mission of shedding light on the darker corners of human experience, always with the hope of fostering greater understanding and compassion. We look forward to bringing you more compelling true crime narratives in our upcoming episodes. Until then, stay curious, stay empathetic, and remember that every case, no matter how shocking, has something to teach us about ourselves and our world. Thank you once again for being a part of our True Crime Cases community. We'll see you in the next video, where another gripping tale of crime and its consequences awaits.